Okay, hello to the Kesem 101 training. Um, so this is basically going to give you an overview of what Kesem nationally does, as well as like just some stats for our own chapter itself. And so get excited because Kesem is a fun time. Okay, cool. So what we will be talking about is right here on our agenda. So, what is Camp Kesem, our mission, our history, the impact of it all, our operating principles, and structure at camp. And so, you may know like the gist of what Kesem is, but we will be going over like everything that you may not necessarily have known and just some interesting things about the national organization itself. And so, starting off, what is Camp Kesem? Camp Kesem is a nationwide community driven by passionate college student leaders that supports children through and beyond their parents' cancer. And so, yes, Camp Kesem, like we have a chapter at our own school, but we do have a national organization that helps us run the nonprofit efficiently. But technically, we are a club, but we are also running our own nonprofit, which is very cool because it gives us a lot of autonomy and it's building leaders not only within these children that we're helping, but it's building leadership within our own ASU community as well. So, our mission is to support children through and beyond their parents' cancer with innovative, fun filled programs that foster a lasting community. And we do a lot of things year round. So, we obviously fundraise year round, but we also have like our summer camp as well. And we'll have our family and friends reunion days and a bunch of other things so that we can provide support for these kids in any way possible so that they feel that Kesem magic year round rather than just when they're at camp. And so our history, we were actually founded at Stanford University in 2000 by Iris Ray Wedicking, and it actually started off as like a project for her, and it's actually Jewish, and Kesem in Hebrew means magic, which is a fun fact. And so the organization grew on grassroots basis from 2000 to 2010. Basically by word of mouth, which is super amazing. And in 2011, we launched a growth plan driven by a huge need and a very long waiting list of interested chapters. And so you can see by those numbers, 3+ million children and 60+ chapters, that there's a great need for this. And Camp Kesem is actually one of like the sole organizations that serves this population, which is pretty big. And the fact that there is such a great need and that we still are growing as an organization nationally is quite insane. And so we're actually serving 10 times the amount of kids that we were 10 years ago, which is so amazing because these kids do need our help, but at the same time, like you see that the need is growing as well. And despite a rapid growth, this is what I was touching on basically, there are still like 800+ kids on the waiting list this past summer. So that means that it may exponentially grow for this summer as well. And so in 2017, we did serve 7,300 kids, but we want to serve at least 8,600 kids in 2018, which is a great goal to have because that's basically like 1,300 more kids, which is amazing. So a thing that you realize when you're a counselor for Camp Kesem is that a parent's cancer impacts the entire family. And so these kids are required to become more mature and take on responsibilities that normally you wouldn't experience in a normal family dynamic or a family dynamic that doesn't have this medical disease just affecting it. And so, how does a parent's cancer impact a child? It could result in isolation from peers because they don't relate. They have to do things that other kids their age are doing. They can't go to after school activities because they have to go home and help their parents out, etc. Just things like that. They have low academic performance because they may be just thinking about their parents. They may be just experiencing some mental issues that they don't necessarily know how to deal with emotions or cope with what they're feeling. They may be having a loss of social interest, again, talking about how this sort of relates to isolation and the fact that they just don't really know how to relate to people anymore on the same level because they just feel like they're alone and they're experiencing things that no one else can understand. And again, I had touched on this before, but they're taking on adult roles, and it's a very, very big thing for a child that's still developing the skills to understand themselves emotionally and in any such ways, like socially, to be dealing with this type of heaviness in their life. And so, this is awesome. This shows some stats that when a child needs support the most, Kesem is there. And so Kesem is a pretty effective model. And uh, nationally, 98% of parents believe that Camp Kesem has had a positive impact on their family because it's provided a support system, it's provided a second home for their kids, it's provided a place for their kids to just feel like a kid, and a place for their kid to just feel heard and validated with their feelings and with whatever they want to express and what they feel ready to express at that moment. And as you can see, like communication skills, the support network, and self-esteem have improved because of Kesem. And the retention rate of campers is 89%, showing that they do return every year and that they do see value in this program. And having had past campers in our counselor program, these past couple of years has really shown that Kesem does amazing work for these kids and really shows them that they can overcome whatever circumstances they have in their lives and that they will have a support system throughout their whole life, just cheering them on throughout the whole way. And so, some other stats: 80% of our counselors have been impacted by cancer, um, and then 100% of our counselors undergo extensive training, which is what you're doing. So amazing. Um, And so Kesem not only focuses on the impact that we make on these kids, but it is an effective model for creating leadership within ourselves and furthering your leadership abilities, because it is 100% college student run, which is an amazing thing because you're basically running your own business. Even if you're just being a counselor, you have a lot of responsibility and autonomy over what you can do and what type of impact you can make on these kids. And you are basically creating the next generation of change makers and leaders within their own communities, because the kids at Kesem are amazing, and their experience with counselors like you just inspires them to do even more than what they're capable of, and just helps them realize their own potential, which is amazing. And so Kesem student leaders are drawn to our mission because of its impact on these children, and you really do gain valuable lifelong leadership skills as well as friendships and memories that are amazing and truly will last a lifetime. So we currently have 4,500 college student leaders involved with Kesem, and we have 105 Kesem chapters in 40 states, which I'm pretty sure last year it was like 33 chapters. So it's crazy. So cool. Or not 33 chapters, 33 states, and I think it was like 80 chapters or something like that. So those numbers might be wrong, and I might have been looking at like a couple years back, but the fact that we keep growing is amazing. And one of my friends, side note, one of my friends goes to Seattle University, and I think last year, so they do like every year, they'll do like a poll on like which school should get a Kesem chapter. And so Seattle University just created one of their first chapters. And so I think, I don't know when their first camp is, but I literally talk to her about it all the time when I'm like, hey, you should really get involved, blah, 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 blah. But she's also a senior. But still, that shouldn't stop her. Anyways, great side note. But other than that, so Kesem student leaders recruit and train other students. They connect with the families in need. We raise funds, so that's with our classy pages. So that's your personal donating page. You raise your $500 in order to sponsor a child to go to camp, and that's also your ticket to go to camp. And then plan and execute a highly impactful camp experience, which is what we do with our committees. Our operations team is technically in charge of creating the camp schedule and all of our activities at camp, but then we do have committees where you can help ops figure out what we actually want to do. And then we deliver year-round support services, which again, I had talked about this a little bit earlier, but where we offer our Friends and Family Day. Maybe someone's parent is in the hospice and like their past counselors can go and support them there. And just things throughout the year where these kids just need some extra Kesem love, and some counselors can go and help them in any ways possible for that. So very, very cool. And then here is the list of all of the chapters nationwide, which is crazy. But as you can see, there's a lot, and there will definitely be a lot more coming. And so we are basically preparing tomorrow's leaders to change the world. So 95% report that Kesem has had a significant impact on their skill development, and 98% of the students that do work for or like do volunteer for Kesem throughout their undergrad career intend to continue philanthropic work after college. And so today there are over 6,000 Kesem alumni, and there's like Kesem continues for a lifetime, so there's definitely ways to stay involved after college. Not necessarily being a counselor, but definitely providing support through other ways. So every year, a bunch of our current counselors and even some past counselors from ASU will go to this Magic Makers Ball in California, where it's like a huge fundraising activity in LA to raise money for Kesem nationwide, which is an amazing, amazing opportunity. So if you haven't heard of it or you haven't gone yet and you still have some time left at ASU, you should definitely attend at least one of those. They also have them in like Chicago, and then I think there's one in San Francisco. But seeing the amount of generosity and gratitude for the organization and just support for the organization as a whole is incredible, and the energy in the room is unreal. So it's very, very similar to our huge fundraising night at the end of our year in the spring semester that we call Make the Magic. But it's basically that times 10 on a whole nationwide level. So very, very cool, very impactful. Will definitely show you what goes on behind the scenes for Kesem nationwide. So I really, really would love for you to go, and I really encourage you to attend because it's a great way to get to know other counselors as well, and just really have Kesem in your heart. I don't know, it just is one of those things. But there's also an alumni chapter where we talk, and you can come talk about your own experience. Definitely a thing to talk to the executive board about. But we will continue to move on. So due to the enormous growth that has been demonstrated throughout this population, we intend to serve about 12,000 in 2020, which is insane because there's 5+ million children impacted by parents' cancer. So we really need to extend our reach of this organization. And there's only so many kids we can reach, but the fact that we are intending to grow this exponentially is speaking testaments to like what this organization wants to do, which is very, very cool. But that means we'll definitely need more counselors in the future. So like, if you have any friends, definitely let them know about Kesem while they have a chance, because it's something that I know they won't regret, but you just have to hook them in. So here is the list of our operating principles as a nationwide organization. So we create a community that has lifelong impact. We leave this organization stronger for the next generation. We are ultimately creating a better future. So it's really just a week of fun, and a week that you shouldn't feel pressure for, and it's like a week of providing the best opportunities for these kids to just be the best versions of themselves that they've been holding in, and that they realize who they are and that they're just so much more than their cancer story, their parents' cancer story. So you guys are really doing amazing work, and it's just, don't be nervous or anything like that, because you are all wonderful and you're all chosen for a reason. So just get very, very excited, because I know that I am for you. We presume trust and assume that others act with the best intentions. We do what we say we are going to do. The next one is we're open, honest, and direct. And then we're also professional and act with integrity and humility, and solution-oriented and proactive. We listen and consider other viewpoints. We seek to understand first and then to be understood. One of the big things about Kesem is that we embrace diversity, equity, and inclusion. So with diversity, equity, inclusion, we're definitely going to experience a lot of different viewpoints, and that is one of the things that makes Kesem so great, is that we are so diverse and that we have so many valuable experiences to create proactive solutions that help in whatever ways are necessary, and it just helps you gain valuable insight on what you may experience in the world outside of college. Um, and then we disagree and then commit. We're always grateful for the contributions of one another, and we celebrate our success. So we are a team, and when one person has success, we all have success. We set and respect boundaries on work versus personal commitments. Um, we empower each other to realize our full potential by embracing change, seeking improvement, accepting coaching, and realizing that failures can teach us valuable lessons. And so, during your time being a counselor for Kesem, like, you are learning as well. We don't expect you to be perfect, and that is totally okay. If you make a mistake, there really aren't any mistakes. They're all, again, just teaching lessons and teaching moments. And um, alongside these kids, we are learning alongside with them. And one thing that you will realize about Kesem is that these kids will teach you so much more about yourself than you will ever realize. And this week will be not only valuable to them, but very valuable to you, because you will take away many, many things that you will not take away from other organizations. And then the last one is that we are positive, we have fun, and keep a sense of humor. So camp is a place of magic and goofiness and embracing yourself. And we want you to have fun as well as the kids. And if you are setting an example for these kids that this is a fun place, then they also will have fun. So very excited. And those are just some general expectations nationwide as well as our own chapter. And so the structure camp, so there's the CEO. So all the green stuff is basically like nationwide. We have our CEO, and then we have our COO. So like you can just take a look at it. But what you'll mostly be focused on will be the blue. So our program directors, our camp advisors, and we'll go into what all of these mean. So MHP stands for mental health professional, which is definitely something you should utilize. Our nurses, again, should definitely utilize. And we have our admin team, our unit leaders, our program and cabin counselors. And so I will go into further depth of what these things mean, and what they do, because there's separate slides for all of them. But basically, you will definitely either fall under program and cabin counselors or unit leaders. And so for the nationwide structure, the CEO is actually Jane right now, and her camp name is Pocket. And our program director right now, we actually just transitioned out our old program director, and so our old program director was Ginger Snap or G Snap, and she was from BYU, and now we have a new one, and her name is Jean, and I actually can't think of her Kesem name right now, but her name is Jean. I think it's her real name, unless that's her camp name. Interesting. But we will go further into this. Okay, so roles and responsibilities at camp for our nurses. And so our nurses, everyone at camp is basically a volunteer. And so our nurses are, yes, they are nurses like as their jobs, but they are coming to camp for free, where they are just volunteering their time because they are beautiful souls. And so they attend camp for the entire week, and they provide the basic medical care for our campers and the staff. One thing to note is that they are there for everyone, not just the campers, but for the staff as well. So like if you have any problems, like please do not hesitate to reach out to them. The thing with nurses though, like there are so many kids and so many needs that they'll experience throughout the week, whether it's like a broken ankle or like just an allergic reaction. Definitely smart for like your unit leader, or even just for you as a counselor, to have like a small first aid kit handy just in case your campers do fall and you just need a band-aid. Like if it's minor things, like please try to like bring your own band-aids to take care of it, because they're like very busy with very big things. But do not let that do not let that make you hesitate to like reach out to them if you like need help, because I would rather you reach out to them and have them be like, oh, minor, rather than you not reaching out and then having it escalate very quickly, because it was a situation that we should have covered more in depth earlier. And so they distribute prescribed medication for campers and staff daily. And so if you have any types of prescriptions, like you have to give that to the nurse and take it during an hour, rather than like you keeping it in your bag. which is sort of lame, but it also protects you and it just keeps everything accounted for. And so they organize medications and set up and schedule for medication distribution, as well as providing expert advising, recommendations, and decision on health related issues. So even we have the rule of three at camp, where that's basically like one counselor or some type of adult figure, which does not include counselors in training, which are CRTs, with at least 2 children. And we had talked about that earlier, but basically it's just a way to protect you for being put in a sticky situation so that there's at least one other person accounting for the situation rather than just you and one other witness or like one other person. And I remember we always talk about this because the kids always think that it's because if one of you falls, then one can go run for help. But technically, it's to protect you. And then the nurse also attends nightly general staff meetings. And so we have counselor meetings at night to recap our whole day, and the nurses attend these. So the roles and responsibilities at camp for the mental health professional, so this is termed MHP for short. So they also attend the entire week of camp, and this person is more of a consultant for camp staff on camper concerns, mental health issues. So this person really just provides support for camp staff and for campers for their well-being and preparedness when dealing with like emergent camp situations. So if you have any concerns about a camper, what they said during a cabin chat, or what they just said to you in general, and you just don't think they're acclimating well to camp, the MHP is the person that you can go to help you deal with the situation if you just don't know what to do. The mental health professional is definitely one person that like you should utilize. So the mental health professional, as you can tell from the name, helps with mental health and like any hard things that may be going on emotionally and psychologically during camp. And yes, this is for a camp. Like, yes, the mental health professional can be utilized for campers, but do not forget that the mental health professional is there for you as well, because you may be feeling like you're bearing a lot of the weight of these campers' stories, whatever they tell you, and you may be having a hard time to cope with the emotions that they've been expressing as well, and that is totally okay. It is not our job to know, we are not like psychiatrists or psychologists or anything like that, so the mental health professional is there to help you cope and to talk about what you're feeling, to just understand your own emotions for their emotions as well, and for their stories. And so the mental health professional, as well as us, are mandated reporters and responders to safety concerns. And so if you think anyone is feeling somewhat suicidal or doing self-harm types of things, like the mental health professional is definitely there to help you to de-escalate the situation and to help you solve the problem or the crisis in the time of need. And so the mental health professional works in conjunction with the admin team and the camp advisor to handle situations. And so the admin team consists of the directors, so that would be the directors for this past year were Merida and Herc, but now it's Kiwi and Ponyo and Woodstock and the camp advisor. And so actually our camp advisors this year, I don't know their names yet, but they all just work together to help handle these situations, because we do train you to some extent, but like you do not have to handle these situations alone. So never feel like you are an island, because we are a team, and if you just feel like something is off, it is better to reach out to one of these people and to get help from these professionals and from these leaders for whatever you do need. Again, the mental health professionals attend nightly general staff meetings, and cool. Yeah, at the very end, the MHP is not a therapy provider or caregiver. We do not provide therapy to campers, their families, counselors, or any other staff members. Cool. And so the hotline operator, so if we go back to this, the hotline operators for the structure at camp, so the camp advisors will be in contact with hotline operators for like they're technically a part of the national organization, but this is just for when we have incidents, or just anything that you like really need help with nationally. They're mostly in contact with the camp advisors, and so part of the admin team. So their main priority is to keep camp safe, and they ensure camp and safety as an agent of Camp Kesem National by responding to and supporting um, and providing as needed support remotely for situations and incidents that occur at camp. And so when you're doing your expert online training, or if you haven't done that yet, there's this whole module course that's called Incident Command System. And so the hotline operator is one thing that the camp advisors will call, say if there's like a fire at camp and like we have to deal with how to deal with this incident, then we will call the hotline operator basically to be in contact with nationals. And so they serve as the on-call expert about all incident, situation, and safety protocols outlined in this handbook, and they are just there to help provide more support nationally. But like you as a counselor will not have to be in contact with them. It is mostly the responsibility of the camp advisor. Or yep. And then so we've been talking about the camp advisor for a while, but the roles and responsibilities of the camp advisor is, again, number one, to keep camp safe. They're basically like the adults of camp, and they ensure that all camp staff and campers are observing safety practices at all times, particularly at high-risk areas, such as like the pool, but we don't really have a pool, so it doesn't really matter. Or like we have this huge hill at camp, so like hopefully kids are just like being safe down that. We're not running down it, just taking care of ourselves. They serve as a member of the admin team, and they participate in planning and the implementation of camp programming, and they basically are just adult support, I put that in quotation marks. They're like past either directors or just people from other Kesem chapters that have experience in the camp setting to help run camp as efficiently and as flawlessly as possible, and just rolling with the punches. They're there to make it seem like there aren't any punches that were being rolled, you know? They provide mentorship and coaching to student leadership at camp, and so they mostly work with the rest of the admin team, so operations and the directors. But again, like, do not be afraid to like say hi to the camp advisors. Like last year, Snow, I would talk to her all the time. Like she was great. Yeah, no, the camp advisors were great last year. So definitely talk to them because they will probably talk to you. And then basically they manage any camp incidents or situations to ensure the health and safety of all our campers and staff. They serve as an on-site expert about all incident, situation, and safety protocols outlined in the handbook. And so we'll go over and delineate what incidents and situations are in another training. And they also ensure proper escalation, notification, follow-up, and reporting that takes place during camp after incidents or situations. So they basically handle all the adult things, like reporting it to nationals and reporting it to parents and like etc. So things that you necessarily won't have to do, they are doing it for you, so that you can just focus on your campers, and you can just make it seem like this is the most magical place ever, even if there is an incident happening. So they're just great. And they discuss any possible abuse situations with the camp mental health professional. And so our admin team and our unit leaders, here are the roles and responsibilities when you've been talking so much and you can't keep talking. Okay, so the admin team, they basically oversee camp programming and operations. And so this is operations team, so Tink and Lotus are on ops, and then the directors are also on this. So directors, again, we already said who they were, and they just are in charge of like actually implementing the plans that we've made for camp actually happen at camp. And I'm so excited for it this year because I know they've done a great job. And they also work with the camp advisor, the nurse, and the mental health professional when needed to make decisions on health and safety related matters. And they work with the campsite staff, so they'll work on like meals. They'll make sure that meal times go well. They'll make sure that activities go well because we have the spaces all set up, etc. Obviously, like as counselors, we're gonna be there to support them and help make sure that camp is just, again, running as smoothly and efficiently as possible so these kids have the best time ever. The unit leader is basically the liaison from the counselors in the cabin to the admin team, and so they're like the head counselor of your unit. And so our units are based off of colors and by like age groups. And so you've probably seen the little list online of like blue, red, green, etc., etc. Like when we did our color reveal, that is your unit. And so there's a boys cabin and there's a girls cabin. And so there will be a boy unit leader and there will also be a girl unit leader for the color. And so if you have any questions, like do not hesitate to reach out to your unit leader. They're usually more experienced counselors and they've been to camp, they have seen things, have dealt with random situations that you probably would have never dealt with before. And they're probably really creative on how to figure out what best way to de-escalate the situation and to provide support for you to be the best counselor you can be if you're unsure of anything. So basically the unit leader just oversees 10 to 12 campers of the same age. Again, like you will have a ratio, so like there's probably like 4 counselors in your cabin to like however many kids you have, depending. It will depend on like the amount of campers you have, how many counselors you'll have, but usually it's like 1 counselor to 2 campers. So not too bad. Like you definitely have help with your other counselors. Like you guys are a team as a unit. We're a team as a camp. Like we are there to support each other. If you see a counselor struggling, like do not hesitate to reach out to them and be like, hey, like I can watch your kid if you like need a like I can watch your camper for a second if you need to go over there and tie your shoe because I see that you've been walking like a mile and a half, like not tying it. I don't know. That would probably never happen. But just be there for each other. That's the main point of whatever I just said. The unit leader provides cabin counselors with support guidance. I said that. Cool. I basically said all of that, but I wasn't reading the slides, so amazing. And the unit leader stays in the cabin with campers and fulfills all cabin counselor responsibilities. And so, cabin counselor responsibilities, so you supervise campers in the same age group and gender with at least a 3-to-1 ratio in the cabin. This is what I just told you, yes, or like for the last slide. So you're assigned to 1 unit. It is a mixed gender unit because like there's going to be blue boys, but there's also blue girls, and you'll probably do some things together, but it really just depends on your unit and how your kids are reacting that day. Totally okay. But as a cabin counselor, you're responsible for all of the campers in your unit during the daytime and all the campers in the cabin at all times. So you're just basically in charge of your campers. Make sure they're being safe, make sure that they're having a great time, and if you see that they're struggling, like go and talk to them and let them express whatever they need to express at that moment. Totally okay. Program counselors are like cabin counselors, so program counselors will be in cabins as well with units, but sometimes just throughout the day when we're doing like rotations or something, they may be leading an actual activity rather than staying with the campers themselves. So they may be staying in the blue cabin, but they may be working with like purple cabin one day because they're leading arts and crafts for purple. So very, very fun. And if you are a programmer, ops and volunteer will let you know. So very fun, very cool. And so some special activities at camp are empowerment, and so this happens on Wednesday, I believe. And so it's right in the middle of the week. So throughout the week, we just sort of help build up what Camp Kesem is about and help the old campers, teach the new campers what type of family Kesem is. And so empowerment is where everyone in the camp shares, not necessarily with everyone, but a couple campers can share cancer stories, and this is basically a way to empower each other by expressing their cancer stories and being vulnerable and being able to tap into emotions maybe that they haven't felt comfortable sharing with anyone, and really finding the strength and bravery to express what they haven't before and to just feel heard by talking about their cancer experience. And this is the day when we really like focus on that, is Kesem's goal to help support you through this cancer story. And so it's just a great way for campers to share their story if they choose to. They definitely don't have to, but it just provides an outlet and a more directed way to give them an environment where they feel safe and supported, because if they see that someone else is being brave, maybe they feel brave enough as well to just say something that they haven't shared before. And so every day, though, other than empowerment, like, we do have cabin chats, which is another time at camp for kids to share their stories, whatever qualities about themselves, things that they just want to talk about, um, during cabin chat. So we'll do it like every night or whenever we have time during the day. Like empowerment, you may be doing it at a different time, just depending on the camp schedule. But this is just a time for the campers to share about themselves. And again, it's more of a guided way to do it and to provide them an environment where they feel like they can share and like they're not burdening you. But again, like at camp, like nothing is a burden for them to share. Like it's definitely any time is okay for them to share if they feel like it's appropriate for them. So as counselors, we are there to just support them and be whatever they need in that moment. And by letting them talk whenever they need it, this is just another time where they can. And so usually cabin chats are led by unit leaders, and empowerment will be led by operations or whoever is chosen to lead it. Cool. I don't know if this is the last one. Let me double check. Okay, cool. So that's actually the last slide. So that is Camp Kesem 101. Some ASU Kesem chapter things we were actually founded in 2006. Last summer, I think we served around 200 campers, and this summer we're shooting for 240. I don't actually remember what the specific count is for this year because we do have it all set up. But I think last year we had over 80 volunteers, but this summer we have over 100, which is amazing. And love you all. Thank you so much for listening. And then do not forget to take a quiz after this. Cool. How do I stop this?